again, a warm welcome to everyone. As we said, we're here today to be trained on how to take care of hotels. Now, we're going to see throughout this afternoon what a great privilege this is, how much interaction there'll be with our delegates coming and going from our various hotels. But this is just one of about 20 or so formal training sessions just like this that'll be held from now through July. In fact, throughout the South Florida area, thousands of our brothers and sisters are going to be trained for different aspects of this work. Today's the first day that we're starting the training programs. We had a training session this morning, and this is just the second training session we're having for our regional conventions. But in the weeks to come, we're going to be training those that are involved with transportation, those who will be involved with the greeting group, the airports, activities, and so on and so forth. Lots of training, lots of work will be going into it, and we know truly all you brothers and sisters are excited. We know this because for months we've been asked, when am I going to get an assignment? What am I doing? Well, how can I help? Well, the time has come now when we're going to learn together what we can all do to be able to participate. So if we take nothing else away from today, it's this. We want you to have fun in this assignment. This is a joyous occasion. We're going to be with thousands of delegates coming to see us here in Miami. So let's enjoy the assignment. We know it's going to be a great, exciting time for us. And really, when we talk about hospitality, it's something scriptural. In fact, it's mentioned throughout the Bible in many different areas. Let's consider one account together. We're going to consider it quickly, but if you go in your Bibles to Genesis chapter 18, here it talks about Abraham and how he reacted when he had some guests unexpectedly show up. Now, we're not going to read all the verses, but little parts of it. Notice his reaction. Starting in verse 2, when he saw the three men standing from some distance, what did he do? He ran from the entrance. He was excited to see them. He ran to see them. Go down to verse 6. It says, and Abraham hurried to the tent of Sarah. In verse 7, Abraham ran to the herd to choose that young bull that he was going to prepare up for the meal. So do you think Abraham was excited to have visitors? He didn't know who they were, but yet he couldn't wait to do everything he could to take care of these individuals that had come to see him. Because of that excitement, what was the result? Well, unknowingly, he winded up showing hospitality to angels. Well, we have 5,000 of our brothers and sisters coming. They're probably none of them are angels, but they're probably well behaved, I would guess, anyway. But we're excited too, aren't we? They're coming here. They're going to be here with us. So where are these folks coming from? What do we know about the delegates coming to visit us? Well, we know they're coming from about 50 different countries from around the world. You see it here on our slide. We have delegates coming from Japan, a big number of them. We have them coming from Brazil, a big number. The UK, a big number. Taiwan. Really, the entire globe will be represented by these delegates by the time they get here. When we talk about hotels, 30 different hotels are going to be used. So we'll be spread throughout the Miami-Dade area. There'll be no doubt in Miami-Dade that Jehovah's Witnesses are in town. Besides those staying at hotels, we have about 350 that were approved for special rooming. Now, what does that mean? That means that their home branch designated them as special full-time servants, so maybe they're missionaries, maybe they're circuit overseers, they may be brothers and sisters that work at Bethel. So as a result of that, they were granted to have special rooming. So hundreds of private rooms in our brothers and sisters' homes are being used to house these individuals as well. How many volunteers are needed? Well, we put a little math equation down there for you. We did some of the math. You could do the rest. 10 days we'll be manning our hotels, 18 hours a day, 30 hotels, that's 5,400 hours. We're going to break it down into 6-hour shifts, so that's 900 shifts. Now, that's just one number, 900, but what if we told you that some of those shifts will require 20 people on a shift? So what's 900 times 20 now? Now you start to see the thousands of brothers and sisters that are needed. So for those of you that have put out there that you're available to work multiple days or multiple shifts, we truly thank you, because that's how we're going to be able to accomplish our numbers together. And what are the days that we're working? Well, June 29th, which is a Saturday, all the way through July 8th, which is the Monday after the convention. That Monday is a full day of activities and hotel management that we'll be involved in. So you could see it's a tremendous task, but there's one more thing we'll throw at you today since we're here. Not only are we working those days, but the Week 1 brothers have asked if we can help them with hotels on the weekend only of their convention. So we'll actually get to work a couple of days in May as well as our days in July. So we see there's a tremendous amount of work ahead of us, and we're absolutely, without a doubt, ready for it. So with all this information now, how do you feel? Are you happy that we're part of this historic event? Well, we're certainly happy to be working alongside you. But why is it that you were selected to be here today? What qualified you for this? Is it because maybe you own a hotel, or you have a lot of hotel experience? Is that the qualifications we were looking for? No. The main reason is because you're spiritual men and women. So when your service committee first saw the application that you put in through the congregation, they approved that application, telling the hospitality committee, we recommend these brothers and sisters. You know they're going to be theocratic-minded. They follow Bible principles. They are qualified to work in this assignment. And because of that qualification, we're here today, because we know that all of you brothers and sisters will be able to follow direction. You'll take good care of the delegates coming. You'll have proper respect for the oversight that's in place. We know you're humble, you're loving, you're kind, and we know that because you're here today. You're giving of your time, you're giving of your efforts to be able to be a part of this. We're going to watch a little short video now. It's one you've probably seen before. But as you're watching it, this time, picture yourself in the video. How are you going to react as you're working with the delegates? What's going to be your reaction when it's all over? Let's watch this video.
Isn't it true that assemblies and conventions strengthen all of us as a people? Last year, international conventions were arranged all over the world. And if you had the opportunity to attend one, I am sure you noticed the emphasis that was put on showing hospitality to the foreign delegates. Our team visited some of the international conventions, and we could tell the local brothers and sisters had worked very hard to make everyone feel welcome.
We have 2,500 delegates coming in. For us, we want to give them our absolute best.
What we want them to feel is the love of the true brotherhood.
The commission wants to make it a life-changing experience. In order to do that, we thought we had to put together more than just come and have some dinner with us.
Overwhelming. I don't know how to express how I feel.
We had to first of all come up and create the acts. So I went in a room for 2 days, cried and prayed.
But this is where the trust that Jehovah is directing this through his organization has helped us.
There was so much more involved in showing hospitality to our delegates than we originally thought.
We have an original, authentic 1892 chuck wagon, real Texas cowboys, real horse trainers, roping lessons, and Texas Longhorns. We're making buttermilk biscuits just like they did on the trail in a Dutch oven and coals. And we have 4 different casts that we're using, each somewhere in the range of 80, 90 per cast. 3 different locations we're going to be performing at, and this spans over 4 days.
The evening programs include providing some food to the friends that are here, some spiritual entertainment with music, some interviews, some videos.
We haven't had field service part of our conventions as in the past. However, it's so apparent Jehovah's behind this. The example set by the slave, it's so evident this should be done.
They're facing similar challenges in the ministry, but they're still working hard while dealing with these challenges. Hearing that was very encouraging, and it gave me the renewed motivation to keep preaching with zeal.
We all need volunteers to come to the assembly hall and greet the delegates as they came in off the buses.
At first, I wasn't sure why right, there were many people outside when I saw them from the bus. When I found out that they were there to welcome us, it put me to tears.
When we found out that the tours were coming to the Assembly Hall, we knew that we were going to have an extra special blessing.
We had well over 3,600 volunteers and probably more like 5,000 that were willing to help.
We contacted probably a little bit over 200 congregations to participate in these activities.
We're from Cheyenne, Wyoming, about 850 miles away. We started about 2 or 3 weeks ago getting all the wagons ready, and it took a couple of days to get here.
One of the things I had to do was ask permission at my job. Ask for a week off in order to be here. I prayed a lot to Jehovah, and through him, they gave me permission, and I was able to be here.
I'm so energized and pumped, and I really just see us walking into the new world and feeling all of this every day.
My job has been to come up with drawings and paintings of note cards of things that are indigenous to Washington.
I had the privilege of designing a logo that went on the gift bags for the International Convention.
We're going to sing for the delegates.
I want to sing for the delegates because I want to make God happy and the delegates too.
The singing at the airport was touching. To see them waiting for us right at the night because we arrived around 10 p.m.
I think that they'll be happy to see all of us welcoming them, the things that we're preparing for them, something to take back with them to remember this opportunity that they had.
This part, the top part, the large JW, was actually from the Messenger, which was back in 1931, the International Convention in Columbus, Ohio.
As you see, with all the brothers and sisters, everyone wanting to contribute, everyone wanting to have a part, everyone wanting to be called, everyone wanting to participate in whatever way they can.
Welcome to Seattle!
Just seeing it being used and enjoyed, by the delegates, it was a great feeling.
I was a little bit tired from the flight, but when you kind of you saw the smiles and the cheers and the big banners and all the gifts, it was just like, oh my goodness. You found love, didn't you? You found love straight away. It was love.
We don't know where they're from. We don't know their names, but they just smile and wave, and seeing that unity, I mean, it's genuine love, and that, you almost want to just cry.
We want them to know that they have brothers here that will support them, who love them, and are willing to do whatever we can to make them enjoy their stay here.
Yes. We just want them to feel like our arms have been around them the whole time they've been here.
It really shows that Jehovah's behind the work, but it also shows the loving brotherhood, because it's so evident by what you see with all the happy faces, the zeal, the enthusiasm, everything that is being spent is all so that we could praise Jehovah, but also to welcome his sheep, the delegates coming from all the different parts of the world.
I hope 2,000-3,000 years from now somebody walks up to me and goes, I remember you were at the cowboy deal in Texas. That to me would be fantastic. I know cowboys aren't supposed to cry, but trust us, we do when it comes to this.
I'm so happy. It moves me to tears.
They came here to let us sing, and they watched us, so they would take our song with them. We want the delegates to be happy.
So are you going to be a crying cowboy? Are you going to be looking to sing at any opportunity you can? We know the type of joy that comes from this is something that we're looking forward to experiencing together. And even though, as we said, we have 5,000 delegates coming from all over the world, the one fact of all of them is true, that they had 24 locations to pick from, and yet they picked to be in Miami with us. And so we're excited to be with them. We're excited to do whatever we can to show them the best possible time. Let's look at one more scripture in the 3rd book of John and verse 8. And again, really, this is something that we take seriously when it comes to taking care of our delegates. Verse 8 there says, so we are under obligation to show hospitality to such ones, so that we may become fellow workers in the truth. And isn't it true that when we know that these brothers and sisters share our faith, we serve the same God, that we feel obligated to show them hospitality. We feel obligated to do whatever we can to make them feel welcome. And as a result of us getting to know them even more and becoming closely united with them, well, we truly become fellow workers with them. We share a bond that then becomes unbreakable. And so we thank you all for being here today. Now, what are some of the things we're going to learn in today's program? Well, we know this is new to everyone here. Most of us have never had an opportunity to work in a hotel before. We've probably never had an opportunity to work in this capacity as a hospitality desk. So we're going to learn a lot of the things that we need to do, pretty simply. And we're going to learn some of the things that we are not supposed to do. Those are just as important as what we need to do. We're going to see some nice demonstrations throughout the afternoon that'll really help us drive the point home. We're going to talk about the shifts that are included. We mentioned a little bit about it, but what does that mean to each and every one of us? What's expected of us? When do we show up? What do we do as we're there? And then throughout the afternoon and at the very end, we'll have a chance to ask some questions. When we're done here today, we truly want each and every one of you to be excited about the fact that you've been chosen to work in hotels. Be excited about the fact that we have these delegates coming to town in just a few short weeks. And I could say on behalf of the Hospitality Committee, we truly want to thank each and every one of you for your willing spirit, your hard work, and all the sacrifices you've made to this point and that you're going to continue to make in the coming weeks. We truly, truly appreciate it and just couldn't be done without each and every one of you. So let's get started. Let's give our attention to Brother Chris Smith, and he's going to give us an overview of the hotel department.
Well, no doubt everyone here is excited, right? You're ready to go to work. When you had the interview process, you said to yourself, boy, there's so many things to do. What are they going to have me to be a part of? And you've just been waiting and waiting and waiting, and then all of a sudden, you received an email, and it said, please come to the training of the delegate. Did you like that feeling? Was that nice? I'm going to be used, and I get to interact with the delegates. Well, that excitement is exactly what we want to continue to manifest. And we thank you, brothers and sisters, for being here today. On behalf of the Hotel Oversight Team, we welcome you, and we look forward to working with every single one of you. So many volunteers are going to be used, but yet all of these things are going to benefit all of our brothers and sisters who are coming. Now, how many here have had the opportunity to go to an international convention before? Look around the room. Look at how many people have gone to an international convention. Let me ask you this. When you think about when you went abroad or to the international convention, how did the volunteers make you feel? Pretty special, huh? It was nice. And probably most of you in this room today would say, I want to be a part of working at the hotel desk because I want to show the same love, the same that was shown to me, the same benefits that those brothers and sisters offered to me. I want to give back, and that's why we're here today. And that's exactly the feeling that we all want to provide. And with that in mind, we realize that it takes a great deal of people to accomplish this. But yet at the same time, we realize that the only way that these things are possible is with Jehovah's Spirit. If any of us tried to do these things independently, what would happen? Chaotic mess, right? But with Jehovah, all things are possible. Now let's look at the Bible example of one who maintained his focus when it came to appreciating and looking to Jehovah for guidance. Please turn in your Bibles to 2 Chronicles chapter 14. And let's look at verse 2. And let's see if we can identify for a moment what type of man Asa was. There, 2 Chronicles 14:2, it says, Asa did what was good and right in Jehovah's eyes, in Jehovah his God. So Jehovah continued to try to do exactly what was right. And that was what he tried to manifest through his lifetime. If you look in verse 4, he continued to try to exercise this even when difficulties came about. In verse 4 it says, further he told Judah to search for Jehovah, the God of their forefathers, and to observe the law and the commandments. Yes, friends, when we trust in Jehovah, when we do things Jehovah's way, all things will work out well. It's when we start to deviate from the organization, deviating from the guidelines that Jehovah has set out for us, that we're not going to make much success. We're going to fail. And even if we were to succeed, would we have Jehovah's blessing? Obviously not. We want to give something to Jehovah to bless. And that's what Asa tried to do during his lifetime. Now, we realize that this can be a difficult task at times. With all that we may be entertaining and doing with the brothers and sisters, we may feel a little overwhelmed. But friends, don't let that reflect in the way that we treat our brothers and sisters. Take a moment, pray to Jehovah, help him to readjust our thinking, as it were, and then deal with our brothers and sisters in love. Now, when it comes to proper planning, we realize that Jehovah's organization knows exactly what needs to be done when it comes to international conventions. And you brothers and sisters here have seen that firsthand. So it's no surprise that we have such a well-organized arrangement through Jehovah's organization. Because with 30 hotels, some 10 days, 18 hours a day, hundreds of volunteers are needed and to be managed. So who do we go to when we have particular issues on our shifts or at the hotels we're dealing with? What a nice structure that we have. We have this office support, special rooming. We have the hotels broken up into different clusters or groups so that it's not overwhelming for any one brother. It's all broken down and we all can support one another. Next, as we look, we can see that there are some areas of focus on the next slide here, that when we are at the hotels, one of the wonderful privileges that we have is to show fine hospitality to our guests. So do we welcome them? Do we greet them with a big smile and sincerity in our voice to really welcome them and tell them we're really glad that they're here? We want them to feel that their trip was worth it. They're not a bother to us. It's a privilege to serve them. So we may help them, perhaps with their luggage. Now, in some of the hotels, we'll learn that they may have bellhops, and we don't want to take away the livelihood and the financial support of these jobs. But in areas where they might not have support, could we offer to help them with their bags? Perhaps take the bags off to the side and watch them while they're checking in. How about checking in? What can we do to help them? Well, the mobile support may be able to show them where the hotel desk is. They might have been arriving on the plane for quite some time, and they're ready to check in. Now, we have to acknowledge and realize, friends, we are there as a spiritual encouragement and somewhat of a physical help if we can. But remember, we are not there to take the place of the hotel. So we don't provide room keys. We don't take their credit card information, right? We don't do any of those things. But we are there to support and help them. We can show them where the check-in counter is. After they check in, we can show them where the hotel desk is so that they can come down and we can answer any questions and provide them a warm welcome. We can also, on arrival, we can inform them that there's going to be an orientation and that we can provide valuable information when it comes to the type of things that they may be involved in, such as their lanyards that will have their itinerary. We can show them where their breakfast is going to be. And we can even walk them out to where their buses are going to be located on each day when they are going on their activities. This just kind of gives you an overview, a little bit of some of the things that you may be involved in. And no doubt your mind is racing with questions. And today we hope that we'll be able to go over some of those and provide you with some suitable answers. Now, on convention orientations, we can let them know where the convention site is going to be, what they can expect, how far it is from the particular hotel, what type of venue it might be. We can let them know, again, what time they'll be having breakfast in the morning and where that will be. And if you think about the organization of that, can you imagine having hundreds of people coming down at the same time for breakfast? That could be a little chaotic, not only for us, them, as well as the management. So if you think about it, it takes well-organized teams to go over with them their orientation to say, brother, sister, we've noticed that your breakfast is scheduled for 8:15 and your bus will be leaving at 9. Whatever the case may be, we want to go over that information with them and then provide them where their staging and their loading will be for each day's activities. Now, one of the things that we realize is that we need to do ongoing assistance. Now, if you think about the schedule, they're going to be 6-hour schedule, 6-hour shifts starting at 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., 12 p.m. to 6, and 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. So that's a late shift, isn't it? But it's better than 24 hours. But no doubt, all these brothers and sisters in this room, if you were called upon late into the evening or night by a delegate, you'd answer the call, wouldn't you? Because that's the type of people that you are. You want to be helpful. And we can see the different hours that will be in place from Saturday the 29th through Tuesday the July the 9th. There'll also be after-hours support. So we want to provide to them any possible direction we can. Think of it this way, as a concierge service. That concierge service provides information. It could be where the local pharmacy is. It could be where the urgent care. Perhaps a brother has forgot his ties. He was so eager to go on his trip, and he packed everything but his ties. Well, he doesn't want to show up at the convention after traveling this far to an international and not have a tie. So he might come down to the desk and ask where the local clothing store is. Become familiar with the surroundings of your hotel. Might be able to Google some of that information, provide them a map. We want to provide them the answers that we know, right? There's going to be questions and things that come up that we don't have the answer to. So in that case, what do? Well, we don't want to give them the wrong answer, right? Just like in the field ministry, what do you do when a person asks you a question that you may not be as familiar with the answer? You know, that's a great question. I'll get back with you. Give me a moment. Perhaps talk to oversight, and perhaps they can provide you with an answer, but we want to be as helpful as we possibly can. Now, as you know, that many of our brothers and sisters who have traveled may be staying in some private homes. We have a few hundred brothers and sisters that are staying in private homes, and so we have to also make arrangements for them. So you may find, if you're working a hotel desk, that you have a delegate that comes in each morning, and you're kind of wondering, where did they come from? They're not staying in the hotel, but how do they keep showing up in the lobby every day? Well, because many of those are being provided transportation to a local hotel in which they will pick up a ride on the bus to their activities. See, Jehovah's Organization's got things worked out, don't he? And so it's well organized. We might be able to provide some language support. We have Mandarin Chinese that are going to be there, as well as dozens and dozens of other languages. So what if we can't communicate effectively? Well, we're going to have an opportunity to have a language support. Perhaps it might be a phone number that you call, and a brother or sister who's on call picks the phone up and is able to translate information between you and the delegate. So it's very nice arrangements. So we look forward to interacting with our brothers and sisters in that way. Now, we have to have contingency plans because it never rains in Florida, right? Things happen. So maybe there's inclement weather. Maybe we have to adjust. Transportation has told us that they have to adjust the location of the bus, or something else is taking place where there's a delay and we need to keep the delegates in for an extra 20, 30 minutes because of weather and because of transportation needs. So we have to be prepared to deal with the unexpected. We're there to provide love. We don't want to project any kind of negative or a lackadaisical attitude. We want to provide them the best that we possibly can while they're here. There might be shortages of volunteers or traffic problems. So we have to be able to prepare for any of these different events. And by doing so, by taking these things into consideration, then we're trying to eliminate the stress and the anxiety with the delegates. And if you've traveled, that can be very stressful, right? You're out of your element, not sleeping in your own bed, don't have your comfy pillow. You're not having all your creature comforts of life. So providing a smile, a warm greeting, that can go a long way. So we think of how it is that Jehovah organizes all of this. Well, we look forward to seeing how Jehovah's organization structures all of these arrangements straight through till we meet in July with the delegates, as well as in May, perhaps, if you have the opportunity to work with the Spanish group. So now let's give our attention to Brother Rodriguez as he talks a little bit further on theocratic direction.
We'd like to set the scriptural basis for our discussion and invite you to turn in your Bibles to Numbers chapter 10. And we're going to look in at verses 3 through 7. But to set the stage, you'll notice that in verses 1 and 2, Jehovah gave some instruction to Moses, and the instruction was for him to make 2 trumpets. What for? Read with me starting in verse 3. It says, "When both of them are blown, the whole assembly must be summoned to you at the entrance of the tent of meeting. If just one is blown, only the chieftains, the heads of the thousands of Israel, will be summoned to you. When you sound the fluctuating trumpet blast, the camps of those to the east should depart. When you sound the fluctuating trumpet blast a second time, the camps to those to the south should depart. They should sound the trumpet blast in this way each time one of them departs. Now, when calling the congregation together, you should blow the trumpets, but not with fluctuating blasts." So verse 3 says that these trumpets were for the purpose of calling the entire assembly together. So the entire camp was to respond to that trumpet blast. But interestingly, as we read those verses, not all of them were asked to respond the same way. So for example, if you blew both trumpets, that called the entire assembly of the Israelites to the tent of meeting. If you blew one trumpet, that would summon only the chieftains, those who had oversight over those many thousands that were there. And the fluctuating blast signaled the breakup of the camp in different directions. Now, why are you here? What do trumpets have to do with it? Well, you heard the blast. And you heard the trumpet blast in different ways, and we thank you for responding. What's the point? Well, we're using this as a scriptural example to show that Jehovah has organization. He sends us signals. He sends us messages. He sends us these trumpet blasts that send us in different directions to complete different assignments. And that's why you friends are here, and we express our thanks to you. And we see this good organization in a variety of ways. We see it in some of these ancient scriptural accounts. We see it in how Jehovah has put creation before us. We've seen it in the past, and we see it in our modern day. And our activities as regards our international convention and our delegates is not going to be any different. So when you reason on some of the numbers that Brother Doretta and Brother Smith mentioned, it's clear that with hundreds, if not thousands of volunteers, what's required? The right response from the right brothers and sisters to the right trumpet blasts so that this organization will take place decently and by arrangement. So we have some reminders, keeping in mind that as we go through some of these reminders, they're not a list of do's and don'ts. They're not a list of rights and wrongs. They're designed in such a way to stimulate our thinking in such a way that allows us to be participants in this good organization. You'll see here that some of this was already reviewed, but we'll introduce you to some of these brothers as they'll become familiar to you. Brother Lopez is the overseer. He's not here with us today. Brother Smith, he had an opportunity to hear his nice discourse. And under those two brothers, there's office support. David Comers, Brother Comers needed to leave. There's special rooming. Brother Gianfrido is here with us. He will wave. There's a handsome face attached to that hand. Brother Gianfrido is assisted by Brother Mortara and Brother Kier. Everybody's going to get a kink in their neck today. You can see Brother Mortara and Brother Kier. I am handling Group A of hotels, and I am being assisted by Brother Coddington and Brother Delgado. There's Brother Coddington and the more handsome Brother Delgado. Group B is by Brother McHale, and he's being assisted by Brother Woodson and Brother Queen. Brother Woodson had to leave. Brother McHale is right there in the back, and then Brother Queen is the slightly less handsome brother in the back. Just kidding. So these are the brothers that will be taking the lead as regards some of our hotels. The hotels are broken down into two different groups, Group A and Group B, and 2 clusters as part of each of these groups. So here is Group A, Cluster 1. It is in the geographic area of downtown Miami and the Brickell area, and Brother Coddington will be taking the lead with those hotels. This is Group A, Cluster 2, which is more concentrated out in the airport and a little further south in Coral Gables. There's 12 hotels in this group, and Brother Delgado will be taking the lead on those. Now we move into Brother McHale's group. Cluster 3 will be handled by Brother Woodson. That's out near the airport and Doral. And then lastly, Cluster 4 also is part of Group E, which will be handled by Brother Queen. That's out in the Dolphin Mall area in Doral. And some of the brothers who are captains will get some adjustments, but one of the hotels as part of this group is only functioning during week 1 and not functioning in week 2. Here's a little bit of an organizational chart so you could get a sense of how this is working. There's our 4 cluster overseers. Under those cluster overseers, there are many of you that are here because you've been appointed as hotel captains, and we'll get into a little bit more detail as regards some of these assignments. And under these hotel captains, you'll see an info desk, and you'll see a mobile assistant, and we'll talk a little bit about their different roles. Brother Gianfrido is handling special rooming, and there will be some brothers that will assist him with that as well. What's the role of a hotel captain? Well, there's only 30 of them in total because we have a total of 30 hotels, so there will be 1 captain per hotel. And as we go through some of these bullet points, you'll see some of their responsibilities. They'll oversee all of the arrangements at their assigned hotel. So that will involve a number of things: handing gift bags to the delegates, handing them their schedules, coordinating some orientation. They'll need to be familiar with the hotel area, the bus schedules, the volunteer needs. And while they'll provide the great majority of this information to those that will be working the desks or those that will be working in mobile assist, once you get an assignment and you know what hotel you've been assigned to, it would behoove you to become familiar with the area. Where's the local CVS? Where's the local restaurants? Where are the areas that are safe? Which ones are not so safe? Where to get a cab? You could think of all of the things in the back of your mind that you would want to know if you were visiting a foreign place with a hotel. Can we just go back? Sorry, Darby. We'll oversee all the volunteers for their assigned shifts, verify that the volunteers are available, make sure the desk area is orderly, and we'll conduct or have qualified brothers handle the arrival and conventional orientations. So this is the primary responsibility of the hotel captain, of which there are only 30. But again, everybody under that brother's direction will have responsibility to assist with these things. We'll now move on to the hospitality desk. Some hotels will have 2, some will have 6 volunteers per shift. I think it may have already been commented, some hotels may have 50 delegates and some hotels may have 500 delegates. So we'll staff them appropriately. And the hospitality desk will be there on arrival days and morning shifts, having more volunteers, maybe some more in the evening, but during the slower hours, maybe the midday shift won't need as many volunteers. They will check in the delegates using this delegate tracker, which we'll talk a little bit more later on. We already mentioned some of these things: hand out welcome gift bags and answer general questions about schedules and area. So this will vary. Every captain's going to have a different hotel in a different geographic area. They'll need to be prepared, but so will the brothers and sisters that are working the desks, becoming familiar with where they are. As regards mobile support, it means exactly what it says. They will be mobile support, assisting our friends as they load buses, maybe as they're walking into their hotels. It may be that we'll have a few more volunteers working some of those shifts, as many as 12. And they will be the first line of defense, so to speak. They may be the first impression that our delegates get. So as you think about your role in mobile support, think about the fact that you may be the first smiling face that someone who just traveled on a plane for 12 hours, maybe with some difficulties, your face may be the first one they see. How important is that? I see some smiles already coming. What might you assist with? Well, with luggage, bus staging and the loading area, which we talked about, and safety and security is very important. Mobile support will have an alert eye to some things that could happen, and we'll talk a little bit more about safety and security a little later in our program. How do we handle rooming department questions? So we're going to direct questions that are related to hotel services to the front desk. As was already commented, none of us are going to have a credit card swiper. We're not going to be able to give out room keys. So we'll have to be discerning where some of these questions should be directed to the hotel and their ability to deal with their customer. If you're unsure of the answer to the questions or what the direction is, All at once. Don't answer. Why is that important? Well, we don't want to frustrate any of our friends. We may be trying to be helpful, but if we give them incorrect information, they may get frustrated, we may get frustrated, and we'll talk a little bit of almost a hierarchy of oversight so that some of these questions could be answered a little later in our program. When do we want to escalate a question to oversight? Well, we've got a scriptural basis. Go to Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21. I thought they removed Isaiah from my Bible. Isaiah 30, 21. It says, "And your own ears will hear a word behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it,' in case you should go to the right or in case you should go to the left." So what's the point? We're going to get clear direction from the brothers in oversight as to any questions or any matters that may arise, and then everything will take place decently and by arrangement. Obviously, go to your overseer for direction. If in the case of a desk or mobile support, going to their captain, if the hotel captain doesn't have an answer, he'll go to his oversight. If his oversight doesn't have an answer, he'll work its way up. Eventually, we'll get the right answer. Your overseer will escalate the questions if it's needed, so work through that arrangement and do not take matters into your own hands. Again, why? We don't want to frustrate any of our friends. They're here for a wonderful experience. We don't want them frustrated. We don't want to be frustrated. And there's the highlight of some of the overseer arrangement that we're talking about: the hotel captain, the cluster overseer, the group overseer, and respect the boundaries. Our role is hospitality. That's what we're responsible for. We have many other brothers in oversight that will take care of the rest. Let's now give our attention to some demonstrations, and in order to get us started on the demonstrations, we're going to invite up Brother Gianfrido. I'm sorry, Brother Kier, the other Brother Gianfrido.
So who likes to travel? Okay. Who likes to book travel? Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. As a matter of fact, it really caused me some problems last year. I had a business that I would travel quite a bit, and I would find out the day before that I'd be traveling somewhere. And so I'd scramble and find my hotel, my car, and the flight, everything once, and make sure everything was ideally right, print out my documents, and then to travel, usually on business, you need to be at the airport anywhere between like 4, let's say, to get a 6 o'clock flight. It means you're getting up at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So already, not a lot of sleep. I get to this flight for San Francisco. I got my plane ticket. Get to San Francisco, got my rent-a-car. Drive all around San Francisco all day trying to find the things I needed to find. Managed to get all my work done. About 6 o'clock, I'm exhausted. I mean, I've been up since 2 o'clock the day before. I don't even really know what time it is. What do you say, 3 hours ahead? I guess it was about 9 o'clock our time. And I'm just wiped. I'm ready to go back to the hotel. And I get to the hotel. And guess what? No room. I had, looking at that little calendar, I must have clicked. My fat finger must have been one box down and booked the following week. So the good news was I had a hotel in San Francisco for the following week. The bad news was it was a convention going on right then, and there was nothing available. And so I managed to get through it. I worked it out. I stayed in a really kind of a dumpy hotel. But the bottom line is the hotel manager, there's nothing he could do. And he really didn't care so much about my situation because his hotel was full. So just imagine now how much better it would have been if I could have walked just across the lobby to your smiling faces. And I know you would have worked it out for me, right? One way or another, you would have found me a place to sleep, and at least I wouldn't have had an anxiety attack right then and there, right? So with that in mind, let's consider our first video, and it's going to show us a little bit of how we can handle our incoming brothers and sisters.
Hello, welcome to Miami.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
We're very excited to have you. How was your flight?
Very nice, but long.
Where are you coming from?
Canada.
Oh, I've heard it's beautiful there. I hope to visit one day. Well, let's get you settled in. I'm sure you're tired. First, you will want to get checked in at the front desk over there. You will want to have your documentation and payment information ready to speed up the process. After you get your room key, you can see us at the hospitality desk. We have a welcome package ready for you and would like to quickly go over some important reminders. Follow me.
Pretty to the point, huh? Now we're just going to ask you, brothers and sisters, a couple of questions about who noticed the way she greeted our delegate? Anybody notice what the greeting was there? Brother, right here. Handshake. So why do you suppose it was a handshake? Anyone? Any idea? I mean, Brother Coddington?
I heard the comment earlier, culturally neutral. So we shouldn't presume that the person we're interacting with has the same type of greetings as we may have in our culture. And the other thing was, if it's a female, perhaps let them take the lead as to what's appropriate or not.
Good points. Yeah, we don't know. So a safe is just to extend the hand, a warm, friendly smile, and they'll know what the intention is. Now, what if they reach out and hug us? That's okay, right? We can hug them back. It's fine. Anybody know about how long that video was? We don't need to know exactly, but how long did that video seem to any of you? Brother right here.
Between 1 and 2 minutes.
Yeah. It was actually less than a minute. So what do you suppose the value of that is? When it comes to the greeting, how that was all handled, it was pretty efficient, wasn't it? Okay. Now, there's probably a reason for that. The directions that they were given, did you see that the directions were pretty clear, very articulate? Of course. So there may be a situation where many delegates are coming into the lobby at the same time. So if we get involved in a long-winded conversation with one and they start stacking up, that's probably not going to be after the kind of ordeal they might have had, right? So while we want to be friendly and courteous and show them a lot of love, depending on the timing of the situation, we might just have to make it that 47 seconds. I think that's what it was. Anyone remember where she said she came from? Brother over here? Canada, yeah. Where are some of our brothers and sisters are actually coming from Japan? Anyone know how long it takes a flight to get here from Japan? Just throw it out. Yeah.
Longer than Canada.
Yeah, it's just a little bit farther. Yeah. It's about 15 and a half hours, just the flight. So now you got travel to and from the airport 2 hours before the flight, all these things. You think that they're exhausted by the time we get here? Right, so just a short period of time, some very concise directions. We can see how effective that would be. Now, let's consider just a couple of do's and don'ts. Hotel guests are going to see us, and they may actually come and not realize we don't work for the hotel. We want to offer them assistance. We wouldn't want to say, well, we're not here for you. We can go ahead and assist them reasonably. We're not going to carry their luggage for them, probably, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let's say you see a brother or sister coming in with a whole bunch of luggage. What's your first intuition? What's the first thing you might want to do? Maybe help them? Right. The problem with that is, in some situations it might be where the hotel, maybe at a certain time, doesn't have a bell person. But the people that are paid to take those bags, that's their livelihood. And they make most of their income from tips. So if we were to go and start helping our brothers and sisters with their bags and take away someone's job, what kind of an impression would we really make? Not a good one. So we want to be interface with the hotel staff. We want to be like an information for our brothers and sisters and help them. And at the same time, we don't want to interfere with the business where people are making their livelihood. Also, one other thing, when it comes to our preaching work, this is something we naturally do. We can't wait to find someone who will listen to us. And you might this might be the time, of course, when you're busy doing something else. This would not be a good time to do any extensive preaching for a number of reasons. This is a great time to carry contact cards, and maybe even want to put your phone number on there and have them call you at another time. But there's two really good reasons we wouldn't want to get into a long-winded discussion about the things we love most. Number one is we'll lose our focus on what we're supposed to be doing right then and there. Number two, would we want to talk to hotel employees about the truth? We would, but remember they're being paid by the hotel. So that would be another don't. Again, contact cards are going to be an ideal thing to hand out in these different situations. So now we're going to invite up our next brother, Brother Scott Montara, as he's going to discuss the hotel desk.
A question had been asked earlier about how many have attended an international convention, and many, many hands have gone up. And when we learned that we were going to have an international convention here, it was wonderful because we could not wait to be able to pay it forward, you might say, the hospitality and the love that we had been shown on several occasions. Just amazing. And so this is giving us the opportunity to do the same thing, to show really, since we have come to know Jehovah and the kind of God he is, what should come naturally to us, wanting to show love to our brothers and our sisters. In that regard, a scriptural principle comes to mind, Philippians chapter 2 and verse 20. It's why all of you have been selected here, because it says, "For I have no one else of a disposition like yours who will genuinely care for your concerns." And this is, again, what we are looking so forward to when our friends, our brothers, our sisters come from all over the world to be able to show what a united group of people we are serving Jehovah together. If you've been to those international conventions, again, you step off the airplane right away. Numbers of people greeting you there. When you then get to pick up baggage claim, another group of people helping us down there. Then getting to the hotels. Well, again, this is where we will be coming in. The properties vary in size and the number of delegates that are staying at these properties. And so, again, this will also have something to do with how many people are staffing these particular properties. But what we want to remember is that the hotels are there to provide services for people coming to stay at their hotels. They are part of what's called the hospitality industry. So they do generally a very good job. A number of you are businessmen, have also traveled, and the hotels primarily do a good job of being friendly, of welcoming people. But we want to, you might say, bring that to another level also when we're working with them there at the hotel. But sometimes one of the issues that may come up is a language issue. Let's take a look at our first video here with an interaction between some of our delegates coming in.
Good morning. How may I help you?
我们参加国际大会，要登记房间。
Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh, you must be here for the convention. Your table is set up right over there.
你好.
你好。
你好.
Yes, these are some delegates for our convention. Their English is a little limited, though. If you would like, I could assist by obtaining their information and you could check them in.
Yes, please. That would be helpful.
Their names are Mr. and Mrs. Chan, and they'll be here for 7 nights.
Okay, I found their information, and here are their room keys. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
谢谢你。
Chigan Wolai.
Can you discern there what the hospitality coordinator, the person, the sister, did and didn't do? Any comments? Did and didn't do. Brother Blackledge.
She was very helpful.
Let's have a microphone there. Everybody here.
She was very helpful. She also had information available on her phone somehow, but she did not take over the job of the hotel person.
Very, very good. Did not presume, but again, offered assistance. So this is what we want to be able to do also, make ourselves available to assist. Now, in the different properties, again, depending on the size of the property, the number of delegates being there, we could have a desk that's fairly close by within visual sight, or we may have a separate room actually that will be set up. So it will be important that we will have hospitality individuals out, perhaps visible, and seeing, discerning what's going on. Depending on how many people are coming at one particular time, you may have several individuals helping and assisting. But again, making ourselves available to help and assist the hotel to do what they are trained to do. And then again, helping the delegates coming to sense their being welcome and wanting to be there and showing our love for them. It's going to be very important also that as soon as possible after their arrival, that they get their orientation at the hospitality desk. As mentioned, some coming from Asia could have been traveling for possibly 24 to 30 hours before getting there to the hotel. It may not be the most appropriate time for them to go into a long orientation, but they could be encouraged that when they're rested to come back down, because at the the hospitality desk they will receive their welcome gift, their gift bag, instructions about various appointments that they would have, and the timing, importance of timing and so forth, directions about the area. So it's going to be very important that they get that orientation meeting. The majority of them will probably be able to get it as they check in, as they're directed to the desk, and so forth. But for those that perhaps have longer trips and may have to come later, again, it's important that they know the importance of being or coming back down to the hospitality desk for that orientation. Once again, what we are doing there with them should come naturally because we are Jehovah's people. We want to be able to show them the love and concern and happiness that they're there, that we have been shown as we have perhaps traveled to other locations. Interacting with the hotel, again, since you're going to be there multiple days, you will probably get to know the hotel staff as they will get to know you. And the ability for us to coordinate and work together is going to make this a very memorable experience for our brothers and sisters. Now, there's no end to the number of different types of questions that could come up from delegates that are coming to visit. So in that regard, let's now give our attention to Brother Queen as he talks specifically about dealing with questions.
It's 3 o'clock. It's probably prime time, nap time, so we're going to do our best to keep everyone awake. All right? I want us to all close our eyes. Don't fall asleep on me. And I want you to think of your house in the paradise. Maybe it's a wood structure, hand-built, maybe located in the forest. You have a beautiful creek flowing right in front of your home. Maybe your favorite animals are passing by your kitchen as you make breakfast for your family. The sound is quiet. The air is sweet. This is a perfect situation. Now I want you to open your eyes, and I want you to think of Miami, Florida. Now hopefully none of us are offended by the fact that Miami is everything not what we said, correct? It's loud, the traffic is bad, the construction is always going on, and it seems like there's never a calm moment in Miami, Florida. This is what our friends are going to be walking into for the International Convention. But how can we make sure that each and every one of us in this room are prepared to make sure that they are not in a distressed moment? Well, first, let's open up our Bibles to Proverbs chapter 17, verse 17. Now, this scripture here is describing each and every one of us that are in this room today. And this is our assignment from Jehovah. Proverbs 17:17 reads, "A true friend shows love at all times, and is a brother who is born for times of distress. Now, that word distress is defined as anxiety, sorrow, or pain. Now, we think about a friend who just traveled 15 hours to come to South Florida, Miami. They see the big lights, they see the big buildings, but they forgot one item. Now, that small item may be a tie, it may be socks, it may be a pair of shoes, but to them, if we look at back at verse 17, it's a time of distress. Now, how do we make sure each and every one of us in this room are qualified to be a true friend and a brother in that time? Well, we must do everything we can to be true friends and to love these brothers and sisters as best as possible. There's over 5,000 delegates coming to South Florida. That means there's over 5,000 questions that could be asked, and even more if a delegate asks more than one question. Are we prepared to answer each and every one of them like a true friend or brother? Let's notice this demonstration where some general questions were asked and how our hotel desk, hospitality desk, handled this situation.
Good afternoon, brother. How can I help you?
Yes, I was wondering if I could get another key made. My wife's key seems to be the only one that's working.
Sure. Let me have someone help you with that. Sister Faithful can take you to the front desk and they can issue you a new one.
Thank you.
Come with me, brother.
Good afternoon, sister. How can I help you?
Hi. I can't remember what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. I thought it was service, but now I'm not sure.
I'd be happy to look that up for you. Do you know your delegate ID number?
Yes, it's 54779.
Thank you.
Also, what time should I be down?
Okay, so what I have is you're marked down for service. Your bus is scheduled to leave at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Now, we recommend that you meet your bus captain here at least 15 minutes prior to your departure time.
That's what I thought. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful evening.
Did we not see a wonderful example of brotherly love? A friend made in distress? We think about a loss of a hotel key. We think about remembering tasks. We think about the fact that you may need to know where the nearest bank is at. Or maybe a sister needs a safety pin and has no idea where to find it at. That's where we come in. Let's open up our Bibles to Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 1. It says, "Let your brotherly love continue." What is brotherly love? Well, the Watchtower defined brotherly love as a type of affection that involves strong, warm, and personal attachment to such a person as a family member or a close brother. Now, we're only going to know these delegates for 10 days. But how can we make sure that we apply this scriptural principle as best as possible? We will have to love them. We have to look at these brothers and sisters as long-lasting friends and families into the new system. What are some things that we appreciated about this video? And this is a question to the audience. Brother Emmanuel?
It doesn't actually say exact time these brothers and sisters came down, but it was really nice that someone was there. So they had to be comfortable to know that when they come down, someone was there to answer their questions.
But what if it's 12 a.m.? Are we supposed to be warm, loving, and kind? Let me get one on this side. Sister Rowland? Is the green light on? You can say it nice and loud for us.
No matter what time of night it is, we want them to know that we want to be there. So we would have a warm smile on our face no matter what time it was.
Thank you. What other things do we appreciate? Sister Went right down the front.
The Friends Helping the Delegates seem to be understanding very well the boundary between the hotel responsibility and their job and where the delegates' helpers' help could come from.
Thank you. Sister Kelly, right in front.
In the second demonstration, I like that even though the sister asked more than one question before the brother can even ask the first one, he was still patient with her and took the time to look up the information with a positive attitude.
She said, "Oh, I can't remember." Friends, be prepared to hear this constantly. We have to prepare our minds mentally. Now, here's a bonus question. What 2 assignments were in this video? There's 2 descriptive assignments. Sister Ellison.
One assignment I saw was a tracker that he used to track down exactly where she was supposed to be, and I guess that's something subsequently we will learn about.
So that's the hotel desk, the hospitality desk. That's one assignment. There's one more assignment that was in this video. Brother Foster.
I think it's called a mobile assignment, where that sister responded to the need of the brother and was able to take him to where he could get the key at the front desk.
Exactly. So we had the hospitality desk, which came, the brother asked a question, and then we had the mobile assistant who was able to get up and go handle that situation. So friends, we have to remember this Bible principle. 2 Timothy 3:1-5 tells us that we're living in critical times, right? The world is made up of people who love money, who love pleasure, and who loves to do what they want to do. But the Bible also tells us that love is the identifying mark of true Christians. Do you know it takes more muscles to frown than to smile? So I would recommend that after today, we all go home and start practicing our smile. Because if it's 6 a.m., someone comes down and forgot their room key for the 3rd day in a row, we have to be willing to be strong, warm, and loving. And friends, if there's a question that we don't know the answer to, what do we say? Don't answer it. We're going to find our overseer. So let's move on to our next demonstration. We're going to invite our Brother Delgado as he discussed the breakfast area.
No doubt everybody in this room loves to eat, right? Well, imagine 200, 300 delegates being in a hotel, getting up in the morning, getting ready to have breakfast downstairs at the hotel. It can be a disastrous situation, right? But we know that our Heavenly Father, Jehovah, has instilled an arrangement for us to follow to be able to help out our delegates in this time of need. And so breakfast is often said that is the most important meal of the day, right? How many would agree with that? Most of us perhaps can't even function without even breakfast in the morning, let alone perhaps our coffee. And so it's of great importance that we do our absolute best to keep things in line, to keep things in order, to be able to follow through our days successfully. And so with that said, let's take a look at a situation that can happen in the morning when our dear brothers and sisters are actually going downstairs to have breakfast. Let's watch the video.
Excuse me, I've received some complaints about the breakfast area. Our other hotel guests are unable to have their breakfast because of the congestion. Is there anything you could do to free up some space?
Oh, ma'am, I am so sorry for the inconvenience. Let me see what I can do to assist.
Thank you for understanding.
I'll go speak to our overseer and get further direction. Would you mind staying here for a few minutes?
Of course, we need to get this fixed.
Okay, I'll be right back. Hello, brother.
Hi, how can I help you?
We just talked to the staff, and we're having a problem with congestion in the breakfast area. We were asked to free up some space. I'm not sure what to do.
Yes, that does sound like a problem. I'll get right on it.
Thanks, brother. I'm going to go back to the desk. I don't want to miss talking with any of the delegates.
Yes, of course. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I'll speak with the breakfast volunteers. You can go enjoy association with the friends.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, brother.
They're having some crowding issues at the breakfast area. It's about time for the bus to start loading. Why don't you take the signs for the tours into the break area so that the friends know it's time for them to finish their breakfast? It might be good to take another volunteer with you as well to help them clear the table faster if needed.
Great idea.
That makes sense.
All right, so let's see if we were paying attention. How many assignments did we see in this video? How many assignments did we see? Sister Arojo.
3 assignments.
There were 3 assignments, right? We had someone at the hospitality desk, right? The 2 sisters in the front. Okay, then we had hotel captain, which she came and spoke to. And then who did the hotel captain speak to after that? We can get an answer for that? Our brother over here?
I believe he was referring to the breakfast volunteer.
Yes. Known as the mobile assist. So those are the three names that we need to get accustomed to. Hotel captain, mobile assist, and hospitality desk. I almost said hotel. Hospitality desk. So what else did you notice in regards in the way that the hotel captain handled the situation that was at hand? What took place? What was the problem? Sister Dunnigan.
Well, the hotels all have other guests, and there wasn't eating facility for them because it was congested in there. So the sister that the staff came to was very sympathetic. She said, "I'm so sorry. Let me see what I can do to help that."
So it's important if we're sitting at the desk, right, that we handle the hotel staff with love, respect. We're there at their hotel. They're letting us use their facility to be able to care for our dear brothers and sisters. And so it's very, very important to be able to handle situations that may come at hand with the right responses. And so the way she responded was real nice, right? She was able to say, "I'm sorry, I apologize," right? Are we the only ones, our delegates are the only ones at the hotel at this time? Can you imagine 200 plus delegates being in a hotel, trying to get out, have their breakfast before they get out into the ministry, or perhaps trying to get out before they attend their activities that they have arranged in the morning? It can be a little bit of a disaster if we don't handle the situations correctly. And so we need to be mindful, treat the hotel staff with love, respect, be able to handle that situation. What else did you notice in the video that we can take further along so that we can be ready for this assignment that we may be assigned for? Our dear sister right here in the front, please.
Yes, the sister assigned to the hospitality desk found the oversight and was very concise, and then left it in his hands and returned to the hospitality desk.
Did you notice how the hotel captain handled the situation? Brother Blackledge?
Well, he was very calm, very positive. He showed the fruitage of the Spirit. And he also evidently had probably thought of the possibility of this situation because he had a thought of how it could be mitigated already in play, and the sisters followed through on the direction.
It's interesting. Hotel staff may not be accustomed to that, right? If they have an overflow of people in their breakfast area. But we as Jehovah's people, we know that we need to remain calm. We're going to have a handle of the situation. It will be taken care of. And typically it starts at the top, right? You have the hotel captain. If the hotel captain has a grip of the situation, it's going to trickle down to everyone else, and everybody's going to be calm, and the situation will be taken care of. So it's real important to be able to handle that, to take care of that in that way. And so we need to keep in mind that some of these hotels that we're going to be in, the breakfast areas, they're not that big. They're not that big. And we're, like it was mentioned earlier, there may be times that we're not the only ones in these breakfast areas. And so we need to keep extreme caution of how we handle that situation and how we're going to be able to answer our delegates when it's time for them. So it was mentioned earlier, I didn't think about this until perhaps before I got up here. For us, we're accustomed to eating breakfast at a certain time in the morning. But as was mentioned before, we have many of our dear brothers and sisters that are coming from all parts of the world. So it could be 6 o'clock over here, but back home it could be 6 o'clock in the evening, right? Maybe their breakfast time doesn't line up right? So maybe they miss breakfast, their scheduled breakfast. What can we do to be able to assist them in a situation like that? What can we do? Brother Blackledge.
Ask your overseer. No, we likely would try to be aware of alternatives for them to be able to get some food at that time. So we'd have to be aware of what's available around, what's available in the hotel in the area.
So if we're sitting at the desk, if we're mobile assist, right, speak to the captain, we don't have an answer, what do we do? If they ask us a question we don't have an answer to, don't answer. We will get the right answer to be able to handle that situation, whatever the case may be. So I wanted to leave you with this principle in mind. It's found in the book of Proverbs, chapter 1, verse 33. Notice what it says. Really important. But the one listening to me will dwell in security and be undisturbed by the dread of calamity. Now think about that for a moment in regards to eating breakfast. It can be a tremendous calamity if we're not set up correctly and if we're not communicating with each other, right? Brothers and sisters can miss their bus. They can be late for the ministry. So there's a lot of different steps that are in play that can actually go wrong. But if we listen, right, to direction, we know that Jehovah is a God of order and that he takes care of us. Everything will work itself out. It always does, doesn't it? So now to keep us moving, we'll invite Brother Coddington, and he's going to help us out with dress and grooming.
Maybe you had a chance today to look around when you got here, but if you look around now, you're going to recognize one thing. You are no different than the others here. Well, in what regard are you not different? Well, firstly, you're qualified as so are these other brothers spiritually, and that's why you've been recommended for this responsibility. You've also been interviewed by a couple of brothers, and they found that you were exemplary in your dress, your grooming, and your conduct. And that qualified you to be in the hospitality department. We're going to take a look at a video now to see a certain situation that happened in a hotel or could happen in a hotel and how it was handled. So pay attention to the video.
Our shift is ending soon. I wonder who's coming to relieve us.
Hello, sisters. I'm here for my first shift.
Welcome. I'll let the overseer know that you're here so he can welcome you and he can go over some reminders since it's your first shift.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Hello, brother.
Hi, how can I help you?
There is a new volunteer here for her shift, but she's not quite in dress code.
Okay, thanks. I'll handle it.
I can stay a little bit longer if you need me to.
Yes, maybe she can go change. I'll find out. Hello, sister. I understand that this is your first time volunteering here.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes, it can be very exciting. We are representing Jehovah to everyone here. Since this is a part of our ministry, we want to view it as such. And with that in mind, we ask that all volunteers are dressed as if they were in the ministry. Is it possible for you to change? We can keep a shift open for you today.
I'm so sorry, brother. It completely slipped my mind. I was out and about and didn't want to be late. I'll go change and come back in an hour, if that would be okay.
Yes, of course, and thank you for understanding.
So did you notice that video? Certainly, you have traveled to a foreign place with many strangers, and you saw someone who you believe to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Isn't that true? And then you found out that indeed that was the case, that they were one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, let's see and take a look at a scripture. Malachi 3:18. It describes as to why that might be so. Malachi chapter 3, verse 18 says this, "And you will again see the distinction between a righteous person and a wicked person, between the one serving God and the one not serving him." So how might that distinction be defined? That distinction could be our dress, our grooming, and our conduct. That is how we knew that person was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Dress should be appropriate, the same type of dress that would be appropriate for our service. That is the case. Grooming should be clean and neat. We think of the brothers. Sometimes you might be at a 6 p.m. shift, 6 p.m. till midnight, and you get a 5 p.m. shadow, where you're an hour past your 5 p.m. shadow. So you might think about being cleanly shaven, right? You think about all of those Jehovah's Witnesses are looking for ones who appear to and qualify to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses in their appearance, their grooming, and their conduct. The grooming should be clean and neat, as we discussed. Our conduct should be one benefiting those who truly who are distinct and obvious that they are servants of Jehovah. Why is it important to present ourselves with the appropriate dress, grooming, and conduct? Because we represent Jehovah and are easily identified as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Those are the two reasons for our brothers. Will you yield to an overseer if he says your dress isn't quite appropriate for this assignment? It could happen. Now, we want to avoid that discussion, if at all possible. Did you think about this video? What was that new sister wearing? The video was blacking out, so we don't know quite what it was. But perhaps it was a pantsuit, or maybe earlier I said culottes. Does anybody know what culottes are? It's only the old people. Okay. I know what culottes are as well. But perhaps it was, no doubt it was inappropriate, whatever it was. So, but one of the things are also true, that these three people promoted unity, both the sister at the desk, the new sister coming in, and the overseer, right? They promoted unity. There was no challenge once this was done. It was sorted out and fixed. Have you also been in a foreign place and needed assistance, help, or direction? Weren't you grateful to see a desk that says information? Maybe you didn't understand the language. Or was it appropriate when you saw somebody perhaps dressed nicely that says, ask me if you need information? Well, is it possible that we have a uniform for this assignment? And the answer to that is yes, indeed we do. If we look at this picture here, we can see that the brother is dressed, all brothers will be dressed in a vest, clearly identified as someone who can help our delegates, and the sister is identified mainly by the scarf. And Brother Rodriguez is going to discuss this in more detail a little bit later about that appropriate desk. But there will be a uniform. So now, as we move on to our next part with Brother Gianfrido, he'll handle the part, good communication is vital. Brother Gianfrido.
So at this point in our training, how many of us are saying, boy, I thought I was just going to sit at a desk and talk to some delegates? It's been a lot of information given to us so far, hasn't it? So we can see that our assignment here at the desk and extending hospitality is very involved, isn't it? Has many moving parts. We haven't even really gotten into the other departments that we're going to work closely with, transportation and greeters and things like that. So when you look at the whole picture of our assignment, it's vast, it's large. And the only way that we can succeed at it and Jehovah can bless us is we need to have good communication between the other departments that we're working with, between our brothers and sisters that are working with us side by side at the desk. A good Bible principle that all of us are going to want to keep in mind when it comes to this assignment of working at a hotel desk is found at Colossians chapter 4 and verse 6. And we don't need to go there because many of us are probably familiar with that verse, where we're told that we want our words to be gracious and seasoned with salt, right? That means in our speech and our communication with one another, with each other, it's going to be kind. It's going to be loving. Now, why do we need to keep that Bible principle in mind? Well, as we heard from our previous brothers this afternoon, we might get frustrated. Perhaps we can't provide an answer to a delegate, and we go to our overseer, and he doesn't have the answer for the delegate, and the delegate's standing there, and his overseer doesn't have the answer. Or maybe we've been asked the same question 5 times already today, and we're frustrated about it, right? So all of us are going to have times where we're under pressure. The friends are looking to us, our oversight is looking to us, our fellow brother and sister is looking to us, and so that's the time when we're really going to need to apply this Bible principle, aren't we? We're going to want to stay calm, stay relaxed, show that hospitality, and show that love to our brothers and sisters. And so this principle is going to be good for all of us, whether we're in a position of oversight, whether we're in a mobile assist position, a hospitality desk position, whatever we're doing, we want to make sure that we have good communication that's founded on love and concern for our brothers and sisters. But there's another Bible principle that we're going to look at when it comes to our communication. And as we look at James chapter 1, we're going to turn to verse 19. And there's 2 specific aspects of this Bible verse that we're going to want to keep in mind when it comes to fulfilling our assignment and showing hospitality to our brothers and sisters. That's James chapter 1 and verse 19. And notice what the Bible book of James says here to us, chapter 1, verse 19. And know this, my beloved brothers, everyone must be quick to listen and slow to speak, slow to anger. So did you notice the 2 points there that James brought out that we're going to really want to apply in this responsibility or this privilege of service that we're going to have when it comes to our international convention? First, James tells us that we need to be quick to listen. Now, why is that so vital? Why is that so important? Well, in order for us to fully understand all the direction that's given to us, we need to listen, don't we? How many of us have been part of a conversation or a group where someone asks a question and before the person's even done answering it, the next person's asking a question, or another person in the group's chiming in with an answer. And what happens? We miss part of the direction, don't we? And now we can't fulfill our assignment because we never fully got a complete answer to our question. So we want to be quick to listen. Take the time. Listen to all the direction all the way through before we go ahead and speak up. The second point James brought out to us is that we need to be slow to speak. Well, why is that? Well, really, it's going to help us in 2 different ways. First of all, perhaps if we're in that stressful situation, if we're slow to speak, it's going to give us a moment to stop and think about what we are going to say, doesn't it? It's going to give us a moment to stop and think about our initial reaction. Are we going to come across upset? Are we going to come across aggravated? If we're slow to speak, it'll give us a minute to calm down, to make sure that we're displaying that brotherly love. And secondly, it's going to give us the opportunity to choose our words correctly so that we come across in that loving way. So yes, when we're carrying out this assignment, we want to keep these Bible principles in mind. A clear communication is going to be essential to not only work with our fellow brothers and sisters, but also to extend love to our delegates as they're there with us. Now, how are we going to communicate in our department, in the hotel department? As was mentioned, there's going to be upwards of hundreds, even perhaps 1,000 different volunteers that are going to be involved in the hotel department. Well, just like in our JW Library app, we have a teaching toolbox. We have a communication toolbox that we could save, different means of communication that we're going to be able to use in our assignment. We have our cell phones, so we have phone calls. Now, if you deal with some younger ones, they might say this is an antiquated form of communication, but for us a little bit older, we still use phones, right? We have emails. We have different apps like WhatsApp. We have Google Translate that we can use to help with communicating with the delegates if they speak a foreign language. So really, we need to be familiar with the different forms of communication that we're going to have and know when it's appropriate to use each type of communication. For example, when it comes to using the phone and making a phone call, perhaps there's certain things that need to be communicated immediately. Maybe you're running late for your shift because you're caught up in traffic. Well, taking time to send an email when you're sitting in traffic on I-95 isn't going to help your overseer fill your spot, is it? Because he's probably not going to get that email until you're probably already late for your assignment. But if you pick up the phone and make a quick phone call, hey brother, I'm sorry, I'm caught in traffic, I had an issue with my vehicle, it's immediate. The brother can respond immediately and make the proper adjustments as needed. Perhaps we have a complicated issue that's just too involved to be able to put into an email. It requires a phone call, some discussion, some dialogue back and forth. You see, we're going to want to make sure that we're using the appropriate tool for whatever the issue that comes up. And emails are going to be a form of communication. We know that all of you are here today by means of an email, weren't you? You were invited that way. So it is effective. We just have to use it appropriately. Perhaps detailed instructions or schedules are going to be emailed to you. As you can see up on our video monitor, and as you look at your email that you received inviting you here today, we have a specific email that's set up for the rooming, the hotel department, and that's Miami Hotel Desk at Gmail. So we're going to use that as a means of communication with your oversight. And just a word of caution on using that email. We might not be the most computer savvy, but we request that you please don't reply all to say thank you, or I got it, or I know. There could potentially be 50 to 100 brothers or sisters on an email, and some of us might be at work, and all of a sudden, ping, 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 ping. All of a sudden, we got 35 emails saying thank you. I got it. I'll see you there, right? So let's just be judicious when we're doing that. If we need to reply back to the sender, reply back just to the sender, not to the entire group. For many of us brothers that maybe have other responsibilities at the convention center that we've had in the past and things, we know that many use the app called WhatsApp. So we'll be using that. We'll be setting up different group chats that way. Perhaps there'll be a WhatsApp group chat for hotel captains, maybe for your hotel specifically, maybe for certain days. So we'll streamline and we'll communicate that way also. Again, another caution when it comes to using those types of apps, please don't make unnecessary comments. We don't need 35 thank yous because some important information might be posted there and it might get lost in the string of 35, 38, 50, thank you, I'll be there types of responses. So use it for what it's intended for, to communicate, and that way we can make sure that everyone is on the same page and really extending love and hospitality to our brothers and sisters. Now, it was mentioned earlier in our discussion, and the brothers have designed a new app that we're going to be able to use. We mentioned that we're going to have to communicate with various departments, transportation, hotel greeters at the airports, and so we have an app. It's still in its infancy stages, still doing some testing, but we're going to go ahead and watch a little video as to what the functionality of this app is going to be, and as we need it, it'll be given out to us so we can use it appropriately.
So let's take a look at the Delegate Tracking app. It's accessible by going to www.miami2019.org. As you can see, it is a password-protected site, so a username and password will be supplied to you in the future if you need to have access to it. So let's log in. Now this application is still being beta tested. A lot of changes are still taking place, improvements are being made, bugs are being worked out. So you will see some changes by the time that the convention comes along and we actually will be using it. But let's go ahead and see some of the main features and sections and the importance of this application. So we can see across the top there's a navigation bar, there's airports, hotels, buses, and delegates activity. So to help us see how to use this app, we're going to pretend that it's May 19th, and we are working at the hotel hospitality desk at the DoubleTree. So first thing we want to do is look and see about the airport schedules. Now each of the pages have a similar layout where the top is different fields that you can search or query the data for. So we're going to go ahead and type in DoubleTree, because that's what we're concerned with, the arrival date of May 19, and we're going to hit search. So here we can see all the arrivals into the airports on the 19th that are scheduled to be at the DoubleTree Hotel. There's a total of 72 records. Across the top, we can see the different columns: name, received, on JW Transport, airport drop-off, needs attention, arrival time, information, departure information, a comments field, and also a details and edit button. So we want to make sure to go ahead and sort by the arrival time. So we're going to have the earliest first. So we see 12 a.m., 4:30, 4:35. And we can see as an example here the Lorenas. They've already been received by the airport greeting team and placed on a shuttle to the hotel. So right now we're going to use the Sierras as an example, Pablo and Anna. So let's go in here and click on View Details. We're going to mark him as arrived and on the transport shuttle and hit Update. So now that information is shown here as corrected. And now for Anna, we're going to go ahead and view details and edit as well. Marker has arrived and on a shuttle. However, we're going to add some comments here because one of her suitcases did not come in. So we're going to put here missing one suitcase. Airline says it will arrive 5:20. So we're going to go ahead and hit Update to save that. And we can see as we scroll down, the comments are there. Okay, so now we're going to hotels and hotel schedules. So once again, we are going to search for DoubleTree and the arrival date of 5/19 and hit search. Now we also want to make sure that we have the arrival time sorted. We can see that their name, the branch, whether they've checked in, checked out, whether attention is needed or comments. So what we are going to do here is we're going to see that the Lorenas have already been checked in. And now we're going to go here to the Sierras. So the Sierras, we know that they checked in to the hotel. We were able to give them their welcome bags. And so we're going to go ahead and hit edit here and mark them as checked in. And we see here for Anna, we have the comment, and this needs follow-up. So we want to make sure to flag it as needing attention for another team to be able to follow up with. Now, some of these fields also have a grid edit functionality. So let's go ahead and test that out by clicking on grid edit. With the Sierras, we also had these two arrive from Mozambique and these three from Argentina. As we can see, we can very easily mark them as checked in. We hit the exit grid edit, and now we can see that we have marked all of these as checked in by the hotel and taken care of. So now we have the Sierras have come back to the hospitality desk later on that afternoon. It's now a different team. And they have said that in their suitcase was their itinerary, so they do not know their schedule. So we have this wonderful tool called Activity Lookup. So we go to Delegates, Activity Lookup. And what we're going to do here is type in his name, Pablo Sierra, and hit search. And here we can verify their name, their country, the hotel. And here we can see all of their tours and activities for the convention week. So we can tell them on the 20th, tomorrow at 8:15, he's doing the harbor tour. On the 21st at 8 a.m., he's doing field service. On the 22nd at 6:45, he's doing the Everglades tour. So as you can see, it's very clear, easy to see all of the itineraries and details. You can also click on View Details for one of these, and you can see further information regarding that, and if any activity comments need to be added, attention needs to be given, or something needs to be canceled. If any changes are made, you can hit Update. Instead, we're just going to hit back because we're just viewing the information. So now we're going to fast forward to the date of the 24th, and we're going to be working at the Homewood Hotel. This is a convention day, so we're going to look here at buses and bus schedules and analyze this feature. So we're going to change the hotel to Homewood, and we're going to put the date as 5/24 and hit search. So now we can see here all of those delegates that are going to be leaving for the convention out of this hotel on that date. We can see that there's a total of 13 records. Okay, we can see the hotel, the status, we can see the bus number, we can see that we have the ability to mark the person as picked up from the hotel or dropped off based upon the activity or at the hotel. And also, once again, if attention needs to be given to this person, and can add in the appropriate comments as well. Now there's also a bus dispatch schedule. Here you can search for bus routes by date, captain, or assistance. Let's go ahead and search for the routes that Andres is serving as bus captain for. And we can look here and we can see the route that he is on, the bus number, what hotel, the times, the spot time, start, departure time, and further information there. If any changes need to be made, you just hit update and you can go back again. Now there's also bus guides, and further information will be added here. So as you can see, this app is a work in progress. More and more features will be added, and this will be something that will be very useful for all the different teams to be working together, whether they're in the airport team, the hotel team, they're working in transportation, or even if you have to relay messages from, let's say, your hotel team to the team the following day that somebody needs follow-up, we can see how this tool would be invaluable to be able to take care of our delegates that will be visiting us. We do want to make sure that we use the logout button, so once we're done with our assignment and we no longer need the tool, we can hit log out. Do you really want to log out? Yes, we do. Thank you very much for listening to this training.
So that's pretty neat, right? The brothers put a lot of work into that for us. So again, the point of this, while the brothers are putting all the work into it, is because communication is really essential for all of us. The point of our convention and our assignment is to show hospitality and love to our brothers and sisters, and we're going to put forth every effort to make sure that they're taken care of. We know where they are, what they need, if they need anything, and can provide that to them. So in review for communication, we see that the first thing that we need to do is we need to listen well when it comes to communication. That way we can fully understand and comprehend the direction that we're receiving. And then when it comes to us communicating, we want to make sure that we use the right tool for the task at hand. Whatever that assignment might be, we use the proper tool for us. And this delegate tracker tool is really going to be essential for all of us as we interact and work with our other brothers and sisters in various departments to, again, make sure that our love is demonstrated to our brothers and sisters and they truly feel cared for where they spend their week with us here in Miami. Now let's give our attention to Brother Paul McHale as he's going to discuss with us the importance of punctuality. Brother McHale. Paul, it's your turn. He was late again. He was late this morning. He's late again this afternoon now.
Well, I may come late, but at least I'm here. Does that sound right? Better late than never. We do not want that attitude when we're dealing with the hotel desk and the different assignments that we have. Hospitality desk. We don't want that attitude. Our attitude should be and needs to be like Jehovah. Think about Jehovah for a second. We need to imitate him. He's always on time, and he's never, ever late. Think about that for a minute. Notice how Jehovah wants us to imitate him. Turn in your Bibles to Hebrews chapter 13. Notice what it says there at Hebrews 13, verse 1. Let your brotherly love continue. When you think about punctuality, being on time, we have to make sure that our brotherly love continues in imitation of Jehovah. Verse 2 says, don't forget hospitality, for through it some unknowingly entertained angels. Imagine that. Think about it for a second. The angels are sitting or standing, waiting for us, and we show up late. How would that make them feel? How would you feel that you were late, knowing that you were entertaining angels? There's many examples in the Bible that we can go through and think about how if Jehovah was late, what dire consequences there would be. Think about Abraham. If he was late telling him to stop with his son, what would happen, right? Think about Daniel. He's in the lion's pit. Do you feel yourself there? Do you picture yourself there? Imagine if Jehovah was late sending that angel to protect them. Jehovah is never, ever late. If you take the time to meditate in the book of Genesis, chapter 6 and 7, the example or the account there of Noah, how Jehovah gave him every detail of what to do. Noah followed those details. Any question that Noah had, Jehovah had the answer. He was well taken care of. And then it came the time to enter into the ark. Imagine if Noah and his family were late. What would happen? What could have happened? Put yourselves there for a minute. Imagine if we're getting a 2-hour assignment late. All these months of planning and activity can be wasted because we were late just a few minutes. All that work for nothing. Just like Noah, all that work of building the ark and all those years of planning, if he was late getting into it, all for nothing. So we see how important it is. If we look at the slides for a second, we'll kind of go through a couple of points together. For example, when we're loading the buses, first, if we need to be at our assignments on time. And it's interesting, if we have a 6 a.m. Assignment, is 6 a.m. on time? We're actually late. I heard that this week, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, like 6 a.m., you're late. And if you're late, you're forgotten. And none of us want to be forgotten. We want to have fun on our assignment, look forward to it. So we want to have some advanced planning. So if we load the bus late, that means the next bus is definitely going to be late. How many of you have traveled on maybe a 6 or a 7 a.m. flight? Okay. Keep your hands up if the flight was delayed. How did your day go the rest of the day? Now, how many of you went to the airport and your flight was maybe 7 o'clock at night, but you didn't know, and you got there early, that every flight is delayed because that early morning flight was delayed? So you see how it can have a snowball effect. And if we don't take our assignment seriously by getting the delegates loaded on the bus, it'll just have a snowball effect. And that's our second bullet point. The bus will arriving late means that the tour starts late and it affects the delegates from the other hotels. Schedules running late could affect our brothers with health problems. For example, what if they know that they're getting on a bus at a certain time, they're getting to an activity at a certain time, so they say, okay, when I get to that activity, I can take my medication, I can have a snack. He might not be able to do that on the bus. So that we need to keep that in mind. The fourth bullet point, tours running late costs money to the branch. We don't want to be responsible for the branch having an extra outlay of expenses. The bus can be overtime, there's extra fuel costs, because we may have to scramble maybe some other smaller vans to take care of our delegates. We don't want to have that type of situation just for the simple fact that we're not punctual, that we don't get them on the right bus at the right time. And some of these bus drivers, remember they're worldly, they only have a certain amount of time legally that they are allowed to drive. So if that gets extended, now we're causing them to break the law. We don't want to have any part of that. Then it says that when we are on time, just like we mentioned in Hebrews, it shows love and appreciation to our brothers and sisters. And again, and most importantly, we imitate Jehovah in being punctual. One other thing, punctuality. It also includes our circumstances. Things happen. We run late, unfortunately. We might get a flat tire. We're not feeling good. We had that chain of command that we need to make sure that our assignment is covered until we can get there. So even though we're late, the day for everyone else is not running late. That'll definitely show brotherly love. So what's nice about this part, there's no questions, just one answer. Be on time. Let's give our attention to Brother Rodriguez.
The Mosaic Law made safety an official policy of Jehovah's people. You ever thought about that? Jehovah had an official policy as regards safety. Read with me one example that we use quite often. It's in Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 8. Deuteronomy 22:8 says, "If you build a new house, you must also make a parapet for your roof, so that you may not bring blood guilt on your house because of someone falling from it." So if that was your home and you had failed to heed Jehovah's law, and someone fell and was injured or even lost their life, Jehovah would hold you or I responsible for that individual's blood. That was Jehovah's official policy as regards safety. And it wasn't just a policy with regard to their homes. In the scriptures, it was regarding their animals. It applied to their tools and how they worked, and a variety of other situations. So it encompassed all of their lives, how they acted each and every day. And it's easy for us to conclude that that is still Jehovah's policy, right? What does Malachi 3:6 say? "I am Jehovah, and I do not change." So Jehovah wants us to avoid unnecessary injuries. This applies to us, this applies to those around us, and this applies in all facets of our theocratic activities. How many in the audience have ever worked on a theocratic project, a kingdom hall or an assembly hall? Just about everyone. What is the first program of the day? It's safety. It's important to Jehovah, and it should be important to us. But what's the principal motive behind this idea of safety? It's the quality of love. It's, again, a scriptural basis established at Matthew chapter 22, 37 through 39. Turn there in your Bibles and let's read it. It's familiar to us, but it bears repeating. Matthew 22, 37 through 39, it says, "You must love Jehovah your God with your whole heart and with your whole soul and with your whole mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. The second like it is this, you must love your neighbor as yourself." So we must have love for Jehovah. We must have some love for ourselves. And in the case of our delegates, we must have love for our brothers and sisters, our dear delegates that are coming to our international convention. And it's that principle, that quality of love that establishes the basis by which we would avoid doing anything to bring harm to any of our brothers and sisters. We'd like you to think of the term being safety-minded. what does it mean to be safety-minded? Well, there's no rules for do's and don'ts, but it's a thinking aspect. It's a quality of our thinking that will make us alert to situations that could cause harm to us or to others. There's an expression that says accidents don't usually happen. Accidents are caused by people. Caused why? Well, maybe they're not alert to some circumstances. Maybe they've put into practice something that's unsafe. Maybe they're doing something that is just hazardous. So accidents don't just happen, they are generally caused by people. So we want to be safety-minded, we want to use good judgment, and it's for our benefit, it's for the benefit of Jehovah's reputation and his name, and it's for the benefit of our dear delegates. So let's go through a couple of reminders, and again, this is not an exhaustive list of things we should or shouldn't do. It's just designed so that we could be thinking from a safety perspective for the benefit of all of us. We're working in places we're not familiar with, where there's hotels. There are buses moving about. Most of us don't work in the hospitality industry. This is not common everyday practice for us. We're in places, maybe most of us don't ever go to Miami. Maybe we're not alert to the traffic patterns of the areas that we're in. So because we're in places that we're not familiar, an extra ounce of caution is required. We're doing tasks where we could injure ourselves or others if not careful. Again, we're talking about buses, we're talking about areas that we're unfamiliar with. And the example was used that maybe in some cases we may help a delegate with their luggage. We could hurt ourselves doing it if we don't do it in a safety-conscious way. Delegates are from different countries with different laws and customs. They might not understand our traffic and our pedestrian laws. In Miami, in the South Florida area in general, we know people are not the best drivers sometimes. Sometimes they're not alert to pedestrians, not because necessarily they even disrespect pedestrians. We're just not accustomed to seeing a lot of pedestrians on most of our streets. Yet some of our delegates, where may they be coming from? Places where walking is commonplace. It may be their primary method of transportation. So we want to be alert to maybe giving them some reminders about places and areas to be cautious. They are easy targets for thieves and pickpockets. We hear about this all the time. They prey on those that look like tourists. We don't want any of our brothers and sisters to be prey of some of these criminals. Being observant to our surroundings is very important. Again, it bears repeating. These are places that we're not familiar with. It's not places that we're used to going on a daily basis. We want to be alert to some of our surroundings, again, for their benefit and for ours. Our next slide. We talked a little bit about our models here, our handsome and pretty sister. Why might safety be inserted here into this slide? Well, the friends will have questions. The delegates will have questions. This vest or that scarf or that uniform, the white shirt and the dark blue pants, no rules here, but that's what we would like to see from our friends. But for sure, we're going to want to be wearing this scarf and this vest. If they've got a question about maybe, is this area where my hotel is this a dangerous area? Should I be concerned about walking? Is it better that I take an Uber? Is it better that I take a cab? That's who they're going to be looking for. So let's make sure we use our uniform. And we'll come back to that in a minute. Another nice display of our uniform, male and female. And let's talk a little bit about medical emergencies. Accidents are more likely to happen when traveling. Jet lag, fatigue. Have you ever experienced jet lag? Have you ever experienced fatigue? Keep in mind, some of our dear delegates are coming from very far away. Maybe their flight time alone was 12 or more hours, and now you add in travel time. Let's be alert to warning them about certain things that could happen because they're tired. Maybe encourage them to go take a nap or go relax in their room for a couple of minutes. We touched on this a little bit. There's different customs. There are different laws here in our country that they're not accustomed to. Let's warn them about this so that they don't put themselves in a situation that could bring any distress. Keep contact information for the first aid department on hand at all times and follow their direction. Again, we talked about hierarchy is not the right word, but there's going to be a chain of command so that this information gets disseminated from the overseers down to the hotel captains, to the brothers working in the hospitality desk and mobile support. Keep that direction in mind. If we don't know the answer to the question, what are we supposed to do? don't answer. Let's figure out what the right answer is. Like that, we won't bring any stress to us or any of our dear friends. Going back, if we can go back to that picture of our brother and sister, we don't have the vests here yet, so we'll disseminate some information over the next couple of days or couple of weeks as to where you could obtain one. The scarves are here for the sisters, so after our program is over, give the sisters a couple of minutes to set up. They'll be up here to distribute some of these scarves. And we just want to mention that there is a cost associated with these scarves and with these vests. We're not imposing a requirement on anyone. We just want to let you know what those costs are in case you have the desire to contribute towards those costs. Those scarves have a cost of about $3, and the vests have a cost of about $6. We're not trying to cause any hardship on anyone. There's no requirement to contribute. They'll all be taken care of. But if you possess the desire to contribute towards some of those expenses, that would be what the suggested donation is. Again, in summary, what are we looking for? We're looking to use our good judgment. We're looking to possess this quality of being safety-minded, not just for our protection, not just for the protection of our delegates, but for the preservation of Jehovah's name. That's how we want to leave an impression on anyone we come into contact with. Let's now give attention to Brother Chris Smith, and he's going to handle our conclusion.
Well, now you're all trained and ready to go to work. You might be saying, well, I have a few more questions than that, though. But we certainly enjoyed the information that we've received thus far. We look forward to working with our dear delegates and really letting them know how much we love and care for them. We want you to go away with this very good scriptural principle. We've been using this today, but we'd encourage you to bookmark this scripture, perhaps refer to it on the day that you are having your shift, maybe meditate it on the morning as you say a prayer before beginning your shift, so that we have the right heart condition and the right mental outlook. That is Hebrews, the 13th chapter, verses 1 and 2. And we know we are starting to put this to memory. It says, "Yet let your brotherly love continue. Do not forget hospitality." Friends, we have the opportunity to represent Jehovah and the organization in the Miami area for the 2019 International Convention by being some of the first ones that our delegates see. May we every day show them love and hospitality. As we talked about, many in this room have experienced just that. Now is our time to give back to our dear brothers and sisters. By doing so, we can be assured that Jehovah will bless every effort that we have made forward to be there. And we know that many have taken the week off of work. They've taken to heart the direction from the branch about making it a matter of prayer to be involved in our convention. And we thank you so much for being here today. We'd like to take just a few moments and talk to Brother Doretta, and we have some questions that you friends would like to pose to Brother Doretta, and maybe we have some answers. And if not, maybe give us an opportunity to think about some things. So let's talk to Brother Doretta a moment. So Charlie, we expect you to have all the answers to all of these friends' questions.
My answer is always going to please see Brother Smith.
I'll give you his phone number after the meeting. Well, we know that you're going to have some questions. Perhaps some of the information that you've received today might have made you think of a particular question that you might want to pose to us here. Brother Owens? The microphone's coming, just 1 second. This way the rest of the friends can hear the question.
How will we get from the hotel we're staying in to the hotel we're working in?
Your own transportation. We'll have parking lots at all the hotels. There's only a couple of hotels we're working out parking, some downtown that require you pay for parking, so we're working on that. But your own private vehicles will get you from your local hotel to the delegate hotel.
And Ryan?
Will we be providing our own technology to access the delegate app, or will that be there at the desk if we're working a desk?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have hotel captains, as you were listening to, and arrangements will be made with those hotel captains. such as when we have the event with the Spanish. We're going to interact with the brothers who are the counterparts, the captains, to see if we're able to use theirs or if one's going to be provided by us. But those details will come through the captains, and then the technology and with the tools that you'll need to perform your duties as a shift will be made available. Brother Brockage?
In the response to this meeting, there was questions about availability implied in the dates and that kind of thing. But there was not the kind of granularity where you could show where, there were certain days working and that kind of thing. How is that scheduling going to be done? Is it going to be like days chosen, or are we going to be able to provide that extra detail?
So on your JW 2019 app, you had to put the days you were available. If you didn't pay attention to that, you should go back and really pay attention, because we cannot schedule you unless you've listed yourself as available in JW 2019. So if you're not available a day, you uncheck that box and you won't be scheduled for that day leading up to it. If you are, check as many of those boxes as you can, so when the brothers start scheduling, the system will allow us to schedule you for all those days.
Brother Smith?
I got two questions. Are you going to provide some sort of a reference manual? And then also for captains, are they going to have to be there every day for 10, 12 hours, or is it per necessary, so on and so on?
Yeah, that's a good question. We know it's physically impossible for our captains to be there 10 days, 18 hours a day. We're giving them the oversight of that particular hotel, and no doubt many of you brothers in this room are going to be key men maybe throughout a day or a shift. So we're going to rely upon you communicating with the captain. Captain's going to make themselves available by phone. If not, there will be somebody on call. We have many backups of brothers in oversight, and then all of us are always available to help wherever we're needed. So with that in mind, then we know that those brothers are just not going to have that opportunity to be there. What was the second question? I missed that.
The manual.
The manual, oh. So one of the things that we're encouraging also is to have the captains become familiar with their hotel. All the captains have received a facility that they're going to be overseeing, and we're encouraging them to get to know that facility, to get to know the restaurants around there, where the CVS is, where the local stores are, some things that the delegates might want to have reference to. And then by doing so, that they can provide direction to those that are on shift with them of what's locally around. They might have a little manual there that they put together, so for a quick reference. Brother Foster?
I have two questions also. One, regarding if we were to assist in the first convention week, the Spanish, is language an issue for us if we don't speak Spanish? Will they have brothers there in the Spanish that can, we can communicate with? And the second question is for donations for the scarves and uniforms. Where do we make those donations?
So the first question, we're going to try and integrate ourselves through our volunteers, some Spanish speaking and English speaking together. We will not have assistance from the Week 1 brothers at all, because they'll be at their convention. So just to be clear, we had some confusion early on. The only days we're working in May is the days of the convention, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So no other days will we be there. So we'll do our best to try and have at least some Spanish-speaking people. So a lot of the delegates will speak English as well, so that'll help us. As far as the scarves, after the session, when we up here, there'll be a donation box here, some credit card terminals up front, and also in the back. So when you pick up, you can either donate in the front here or in the back as well.
Sister Wilson?
On the uniforms, are we encouraged to wear white blouses or shirts every day? Or does it matter what color we wear for the brothers and the sisters?
Yeah, we'd like the white. We're trying to be consistent, so throughout the week, the delegates will learn to recognize that those are the friends helping me. So it'll be that way from when they first walk out of the terminal and see the greeters, all the way through the buses, at the activities, at the hotels. After a day or two, they'll realize the pattern that when I need assistance, that's a person that can help me. So that's what we're trying to do with that. That's the reason.
Okay, brother here in the middle.
Will it be possible to schedule those that are volunteering at the desk in the hotels that they're actually staying at in Miami?
So there's no locals staying at any of the delegate hotels. The delegate hotels are completely separate from the local hotels. There may be some in close proximity. You may have a local hotel across the street from a delegate hotel, and the brothers are gonna do the best they can to try and get you scheduled close by if they know the info. But there's no locals and delegates mixed in the same hotels.
Brother Telefair?
How would you facilitate the scheduling if we're also involved in other departments with the international?
So really with the availability, so let's say, Brother Telefair, that you have marked yourself available for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That would be separate from the actual responsibilities that you may be performing as an attendant or with cleaning for the actual conventions. So to make clear, none of us would be working any of the hotels or hotel desks or support services during that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the convention. So depending on your responsibility, you would still be able to volunteer for those assignments. Evelyn?
With that being said, how soon do you anticipate letting the volunteers know what hotel they'll be working at? Because I know we have hotels for the week of our assembly, but just in case, convention, but just in case we will be assisting the week before, we need to make hotel reservations because I hate to drive from West Palm Beach to Miami.
Well, we all hate to drive from West Palm Beach to Miami.
The drive could be an hour if you're staying across the street down in Miami. But we're really trying to produce those schedules as soon as possible. The Spanish have just released their schedule, so we're now trying to look at that, and then one will be produced at a reasonable time after that. Remember, we have all these trainings going on in the next few weeks as well with others, and we'll start integrating that in. So we just ask that you be patient, and we're trying to work those out as soon as possible. Jim?
Some have asked with minor children if the minor children can attend with them at the desk or as a mobile support.
So yes, we're okay with families being together as long as they're well-behaved. Minor children that'll stay by the parent's side. If they're old enough to help, we'd love it. It's a family event. It's a happy event, as we've been saying. We want the families to enjoy it together. We just don't want to have any complaints from the friends or the staff that there's kids running around that are uncontrolled. So that's the only criteria, that they're well-behaved minors.
Brother Somerville?
So the follow-up question to that, since kids will be involved in some areas, even for the adults, will there be any direction on having snacks at the desk and, being able to take a break here and there? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, you're going to have some downtime. There's going to be times where delegates are moving from one place to another, and then you're going to have some downtimes waiting for them to come back. So we just ask that you be reasonable. We're not asking anyone to have any kind of hardship upon them. So being prepared, bringing your own snacks, maybe your own food, obviously, depending on the time of day that your shift is, being aware of your, being self-sufficient. It could be something that you really need to take consideration of. Brother Anguiano?
A lot of the friends will be participating and going out in the field service with the delegates. Will there be some sort of coordination between those assignments and the assignments that the friends will be receiving at the hotel desk?
Yes, there will be. That's where it all gets a little tricky, because to go out in service, you have to click yourself available in the website. But on our end, we're going to see you're available and want to schedule you. So as the schedules start coming out, it'll just be good communication and perhaps it's something where you're assigned a morning shift and they'll make a swap with someone who's in an afternoon shift. Service is very important to all of us. So if you're going out, we're going to accommodate that the best we can.
Sister Blakeney?
Is it possible to get assigned with someone like from our congregation so we can carpool?
We're gonna try to be as accommodating as we possibly can, but thinking of just what I saw with the Spanish, they have 900 shifts, and they're able to send out to all of the individuals that show themselves available on those days. So it's really important that you check which days you're available, And we're going to try to be as accommodating as we can to a reasonable degree, but it could be it could be likely that you'd be assigned to different venues, different places, possibly. A couple more. Sister in the.
Brother Doretta had mentioned something about the JW19 app. Is that available to us right now to schedule ourselves, or is that going to come later?
So that's where you filled out your volunteer application, jw2019.org, yeah. So it's the same one. You can go back into your profile and make any adjustments you need to make there.
Okay, thank you.
Sister.
My question is regarding the uniforms for the sisters. I wasn't sure if that was a navy skirt or black skirt. I'm not sure, do you want navy or black, or does it matter for the bottom?
Same exact question this morning. It was navy. So we're looking for blue bottom, white top. So we didn't want to give an exact color blue because we didn't want to put a hardship on anyone if they have to go out and buy something. So a dark blue and a white top would be fine. Okay.
So no doubt we're going to have many other questions, and we would encourage you to ask questions, but perhaps even through the hotel captains or those brothers with the lanyards around here. We're more than willing to try to answer the questions if it's in our ability to do so. But we thank you very much for being here today. So Brother Doretta, thank you for your question and answer. Well, we thought we would end this beautiful training session looking at an original song video that really will stimulate our hearts and minds for the work ahead. So brothers, would you play the song, The Joy of Conventions, please? It's coming, we just don't know when. We had to have some technical difficulty. We're going to do the whole program over again. But we're going to do it backwards. So, Brother Doretta, let's have the question and answer again, please.
Before the music starts, I'm right beside you. The fire is growing, the fire is growing. The world in chaos, but here we got peace. And we're just starting, yeah, yeah. We are sisters, we are brothers, sons and daughters and more. And I love you even though I never met you before. Yeah. We are sisters, we are brothers, sons and daughters and more. And I love you even though I never met you before. I'm on the edge of a human sea, and the tide is in. My eyes are surfing on unfamiliar faces, and still I know them. They're family. You wave at me from across the stadium. What a beautiful sight. I feel refreshed like a newborn baby.
ready. Friends, we invite you to stand as we conclude our program singing praises to Jehovah. We're going to sing song number 100, and then we're going to ask Brother Doretta to conclude with prayer. Song number 100, Receive Them with Hospitality.